Good evening. Welcome to the June 10th edition of the Derry Cooperative School District. Why don't we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Okay, I will take a motion for the non-public meeting minutes for March 26th. First by Jason.
Second.
Second by Michael. All in favor?
Aye.
Take a motion for the non-public minutes from May 14th.
So moved.
First by Jason.
Second.
Second by Michael. All in favor? Aye. All right, we only have that was our workshop, was that the workshop ad training session on May 21st minutes. Take a motion for that.
So moved.
First by Jason.
Second.
Second by Michael. All in favor?
Aye.
I think we should have one extension on that, 601. I think Wilbert was out.
Correct.
Yeah, all right, so I will take a motion for the meeting minutes for May 28th.
So moved.
First by Jason.
Second.
Second by Michael, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you. All right, Anthony, you're up.
All right, so recently the New Hampshire EATs, not sure how to say it, were held. It's basically the, big teacher awards that are in New Hampshire every year. Pinkerton got 3. We got Nathan Phillips, who won CTE Teacher of the Year. He's an electrical teacher. Doug Cullen won ELO Coordinator of the Year. An ELO is an extended learning opportunity. Like for example, I actually won for my stuff on the Legislative Youth Advisory Council. I've mentioned that before, but others do, I know there's a lot of hospital, so ELOs are they're a good way to get extra credit for, doing stuff in your career path. So it was good to see him get an award for that. And Christina Dimicelli, hope that's how you say it, won NHSTE Susan Janaz Tech Impact Award for excellence in technology education. Excuse me. In sports, City Baseball won the state championship. It's our second big championship. We got basketball in the winter.
2 in a row, right?
2 in a row. Yep. Radgen was this past Friday. Was Superintendent Garofalo there? Was anyone else there? It did go well. It did rain for a little bit, only for like 1 minute, but really well besides that. Fall sports registration is open for that. You can find that on Pinker's website. And exam again this Wednesday. Final exams, and they'll go into Monday. So with that, that might be my update. The deal was today, so I don't really know if I won yet. So that might be my final one. I'll know tomorrow.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you for part of this last, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move to delegations individuals. Get you 3 minutes and state your name and address for the record. You can start now.
Good evening, everyone. Derek Anderson, 50 Stark Road, Derry. First off, Brenda and Dr. Austin Garofalo nameplates need to be switched, just so everyone at home knows who's sitting where. Since the first time the board began talking about consolidating the district many years ago when I was board, one of the biggest questions was what would we do to close the school? So some may remember the issues the district had with school closed and how long it took to take the district take that school off the district's books. This board has done a good job, I think, in due diligence, funding studies to determine costs in repairs, upgrades, etc. And no doubt obtaining a fair market value for the DVS property is just another part of that due diligence. I would caution the board in taking that information any further. This is the only land available to the district to build on. There really is no other feasible option to build a new school on any other district property, as it would cause major disruptions to the students. The reason the board first came up with either closing South Range or Grinnell is because they would both be fairly marketable properties, I think more so Grinnell School, but neither lent itself to potential to build a new school while the other school remained open and with minimal disruptions. The vote for a new school did not pass this year, nor was it to pass on the first attempt. I think this is pretty rare in any district to pass on the first attempt. But in a few years, maybe put together a 10-year plan with a new strategic plan, I think voters will approve a new school, but we'll need the land to build it on. If we don't have the DVS land, I do not believe the votes, especially the parents, will support the disruption of closing a school, redistricting students to 3 remaining elementary schools, which most likely will require portable classrooms to hold all the children, and then redistricting back into a new building. The likelihood of the district actually getting the $2.5 to $3 million in the report you're going to see this evening is debatable, and as a one-time source of revenue, does nothing to ensure long-term investment in our district. You've done your due diligence now. you have evaluation, advise not moving forward with the sale of the DVS property. Thank you.
All right, last call. All right. Austin, you're up with personnel.
Okay, we want to start off tonight with a new assistant principal for East Derry Memorial Elementary School. So I am going to start by introducing the 24-25 principal of East Derry Memorial Elementary School, Mary Hill.
Which is exciting for me because that's where I started when the door opened at Derry was my first job. So full circle, so I'm excited about that. So I have Kelly with me tonight. She is going to be our new assistant principal. Kelly and I have been in each other's lives for 16 years. I hired her as a guidance counselor that far back and saw a person that has sympathy. She's bright, articulate, communicates beautifully, and always has students at the center of anything that she's, and I mentioned a little bit earlier, things are really bad, Kelly can find a silver lining and pull you to where you need to be. So her stability at East Derry, being there for 3 years, is going to be great for all of us to have that consistent person, as well as someone that is driven and has set a goal, gotten to this point. So we're excited to have her with us.
Thank you. I don't know what do you want me to add? So do you want me to? So I've been into Derry for 16 years. Started with Mary, and I moved to the Project Me program, East Derry. I'm really excited to take a leadership role and help unite all the staff and students and work and learn together.
And it's important to note that Kelly on leadership roles all 3 years, whether it was lead guidance counselor or when we did a lot of training in technology, she led the way with
Cybersafety.
the cybersafety pieces. Within the building, when there are committees, she always jumped up. So I feel very fortunate that we're going to have this opportunity to work together.
Any questions from the board?
Looking forward to next year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I will accept a motion to accept Kelly Breen as the assistant principal at East Derry Memorial. First by Brenda, second by Jason. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, 7-0. Congratulations.
I've known Kelly for a number of years. First met her while she was a counselor over at Grinnell, and it takes a lot of guts to take a risk. And after 11 years as a counselor, or 13 years, moving over to East Derry and going back to her special education roots and Project Me program, and have been there for the last 3 years. And this is a step in her career, and we congratulate her, and we think she's an excellent team over at East Derry. So thank you. All right. We have 2 resignations that I would like the board to accept with regret. Jessica Anderson, ESOL teacher for the district, and Catherine Conti, psychologist for the district.
Motion to accept resignation.
First by Jonathan,
Second.
second by Michael. All in favor?
Aye.
Always want to end on a more positive note, so we have a half a dozen more nominations. Erin Krem, ESOL teacher for the district. Sean Desmond, special education teacher, Gilbert H. Emily Hansen, special education teacher, Grinnell Elementary School. Lara Mayer Schwarzer, I told her I wouldn't mess this up. Sorcheski, special education teacher, West Runbrook Intermediate School. And Samia Stetson, special education teacher, Gilbert H. Hood School.
Move to accept the nominations.
First by Jason, second by Brenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, great. Passes at 7-0. Thank you, Austin. Is that all? Yeah, that's all. All right, we have Dr. Dancy with the 21st century learning update.
Good evening. I'm very pleased to present to you the entire board of the 21st Century Learning Community Corporation here tonight, including those who are on the school board that are a part of it and the administration that are a part of it. I don't think outside of our meetings that this has ever occurred before at a school board meeting.
That's good.
Yeah, this is Joel Olbrecht. He is the chair of the board, and I'm going to ask Joel to explain a little bit, first of all, what the 21st Century Learning Community Corporation is, especially for our new board members who may not be aware of it, and then we'll get into our grant presentations.
Yes, and I'd like to introduce, we got Glenn Cabana, Gordon Graham, and Craig Falkenham. Now, you may know some of these guys, because like myself, I've been on this Derry School Board before, and I've been on the town council before and sat in the room, so this is kind of cool. So let's go back a while, and we'll talk about where Derry 21st Century Learning Community Corporation even started from. We're a separate 501c3, and there was a dream back in the early 90s from a guy named Dave Brown, if a lot of you have heard his name, that we could actually get government funding and grants to build the most highest and greatest technology middle school that could ever be built. And it turned out to be West Erningbrook after many variations and funded by a regular budget. But there was this dream that you could actually bring technology into the schools in 1990. Believe it or not, right? So we ended up doing a lot of great fundraising. We probably raised about 450, probably almost 500,000. And once we kind of saw that the big dream was gone, we went to Plan B, which was the next best dream, which was, let's just fund technology for Derry School District. So our corporation got started, and we still have 375,000 of that principal that we still come here with every year, and we usually take the interest and the dividends and say, hey, here's 20,000. Let's figure out how we could spend it for the technology differences in Derry School District. And there's a lot of things that the board itself has done in technology, but here's our role. We kind of see our role as, you know, letting innovation step up its place in a classroom. And it may not be something that's easily funded within a budget. It may come after the budget's even done. And yet a technology piece comes up. And we're going to talk about some new technology that we've accepted even for next year. And we say, you know, let's take our interest in dividends from the corporation and fund that project at least year one, because a lot of all of these projects that we've done over, anybody can do math real quick? It's like 34 years that we've been in business. Take that money and spend it on some innovation at 20,000 a year. And the dream is that it starts in a classroom and then erupts all over the district in every school. Or it starts at the district and it's bought in so heavily by everybody in the district that it goes on for year 2, year 3, year 4. And we've enjoyed working with Cliff, because Cliff has bought us a bunch of really cool innovations, and I know we're here to show some, so let's get to that. But I did want you to have just a little bit of history, because some of you may not have even known where Derry 21st Century Learning Community Corporation came from.
So last year, we proposed a grant to help re-outfit our tech learning classes at the middle schools. And so each middle school teacher, Mary Watson and Randy Campos, received 15 iPads and a supplement to all of their Lego robotics kits. And we put that together. Unfortunately, Mary couldn't be here this evening, but she wanted to share some slides that have been happening at Gilbert Hood Tech Ed, and they did use the iPads with the robots, and she has some pictures here of some of the things that they were able to do with it in collaborative work groups and coding challenges. But her big thing with it was to do some stop motion movies using little claymation things. And so I'm going to play a couple of these movies for you. Let's see here. That's some pretty professional looking stuff there. Let's see here. Oh, come on, let's get to the next one. You just wanted to see that one again. There we go. And this next one, well, why does it do that to me? If you blink, you may miss it. This is a really short one. There we go. And the final one here. There we go. All right, and then So then I'm going to hand this microphone, is this one working now? Over to Randy. Yes. And Randy's going to share with you what's been happening over at West Running Brook.
Hi, guys. Hello. Check, check. My name's Randy Campos. I am the tech ed teacher over at West Running Brook. And so we got ourselves some iPads. And again, I'm just going to correct you really quick. It wasn't Lego Robotics. It was Vex Robotics.
Bad.
And yeah, you can put those under there. And I've been running these Vex Robotics for quite a few years now. We've gone to state championships and things like that. But they, again, like technology is, it gets outdated pretty quick. So with this grant, it helped us kind of get back up to date again. So I'm just going to show you guys really quick. And I've got my buddy Martin here. Say hi, Martin. And so a few years ago, it was myself and a couple other teachers from Derry. We went down to Huntsville, Alabama, down to a NASA space camp down there, and we got to learn from a bunch of, with a whole bunch of other teachers from all over the world, 114 teachers from all over the world. Many of us didn't even speak the same language. We all stayed in the college dorms down there, and we ate together, and we did experiments together, and we did all sorts of projects together. And this is actually one of the projects I brought back from there with robotics. And he's actually programming that robot with the iPad there. And we learned a lot about space exploration and the future of space exploration and going to Mars. And our first explorers on Mars are going to be robots. So in this lesson here, I've got this grid here, and the students would have to create a program to make the robot kind of go to certain parts on the planet, because this is our planet here. I've got little wooden blocks under there to replicate some mountains there. And they have to drive around, dodge these mountains, or go over our little sand dunes and do certain tasks. Because this is what our robots are going to be up on Mars first, doing all this for us. So at some point, we are going to be up there, but it's not going to be without the robots doing it for us first. So that's what we kind of do there. And we also use the iPads for some other smaller things. I teach a flight study lesson, so I get to use them for some flight simulator applications to teach kids how things fly, why they fall, you know, what makes that, what forces of flight kind of push planes back and forth. And so that's about it for the iPads. And as you can see, Mary uses them for the stop motion animation. So we like to explore and, yeah, you're off grid. All right. And then we've got our, Martin shows you a little bit more of this. We've got our Vex Robotics, and these are a little more expensive than these other things here. Yeah, you want to start that up? Yep. And then you can just grab the controller and start it. And the Vex Robotics, we've been doing this for quite a few years. West Running Brook's gone to the state finals a few years ago. And back then we had the Generation 1 kits. And thankfully with this grant that we just got, we're able to pick up a bunch of the Generation 2 kits because the Generation 1s are outdated. And actually, they just about 3 months ago, they stopped making some of the batteries for them. So I know I'm going to have to start replacing parts for them. And Martin here designed this robot himself. And every year, Vex Robotics comes out with a new competition. And these are they call them game pieces. And you compete with other schools from all over the state and then all over the United States when it comes down to it on accomplishing this task, but not only just building a robot and following instructions, but engineering them, problem solving, figuring out what works, what doesn't. And here, as you can see, Martin is manually controlling this robot, but these can also be programmed, kind of like he was doing with this little robot here, but on a larger scale. And we get judged and trophies for different things. And the reason why we got into Vex was years ago when they asked me to start up the robotics program at West Running Brook again. Good job. Mr. Byron, Ernie Byron over at Pinkerton said, why don't you do Vex Robotics? Because I was going back and forth between the Lego and Vex. And Pinkerton does Vex. So he said, if you do Vex Robotics, it will give all the students coming from your program a head start when they get to high school. And if they really love it, and again, it's one of those things, if you really love it, you really love it. And I think Martin definitely really loves it because he impressed me by bringing in, I'm going to show him off a little bit. He and his father built a BattleBot. I don't know if any of you have watched the BattleBots show before. It's for a amateur league, a 3-pound league, but they actually built like a full-scale BattleBot robot and did some competitions. So, yeah, that's where I got. So, thank you, Martin. Thank you, board. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. So this year, we just finalized grants for the coming year, and there are 2 grants that the 21st Century Learning Community Corporation has agreed to fund. The first is involving our new STEM classes, which will be using the Project Lead the Way curriculum, and each of the classes needs to have a supplement of consumable materials. And so they have agreed to fund each of those classes with $1,250 worth of materials in all 5 schools that will be utilizing the Project Lead the Way STEM curriculum. The other grant is a staff grant, and in our world that has just been inundated with the AI tsunami, so that's what I call it, it's got a lot of people scared. They don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to utilize it, how to make it a part of their lives. So I was able to find a service, one of the leading uses of AI in education, called Magic School AI, which is a teacher toolkit that utilizes AI to produce a lot of mundane tasks or take care of mundane tasks. Like making rubrics or making worksheets or analyzing a YouTube video and making questions to go along with it, or summarizing a YouTube video, or writing lesson plans. It matches with the state standards and prompts the teacher through prompts that they're used to seeing, like their grade level, what are they teaching, things like that. And then it'll write the lesson plan in about 20 seconds for them to then peruse and review to make sure that it's what they want, and then modify as necessary. But that reduces the time spent on lesson planning by probably, I'm going to say 45 minutes to an hour per lesson, which and especially I see it, because I know that a lot of teachers will use textbook lessons and things that are already prepared for them. But I know that whenever they go to write substitute lesson plans, that can be a real pain in the neck. It was always for me. I was in the classroom for 16 years, and I know writing substitute lesson plans is a real difficult thing, and this will be a real time saver for them. So they've given us a grant for $14,000 to fund a year subscription, and one of the reasons why we wanted to go with the paid version as opposed to the free version is because it has a data privacy agreement. Everything is behind a wall, so none of this information could be shared outside of our account and what we have. So we wanted to go with the safest and most secure means possible, and also dip our toes into the AI world and make sure that we have a handle on what's happening. There are some student components if we choose to use them, but that'll come as the teachers become more comfortable with utilizing AI. So that's what we have as far as the 21st Century Learning Community Corporation. Does anybody have any questions about the grants that have been demonstrated or that have been awarded for next year?
I think we talked about this last week, the professional development that goes along with the AI so that staff is, I guess, supported in using this.
Right. There is some professional development built into the subscription service, but I will also be doing some professional development through my 2-minute tech talks that I've done in the past. And they're actually going to be timely tech talks because I'm not limiting myself now to 2 minutes. I seem to go beyond that quite a bit. But that is, I shared it with a couple of teachers, and they seem to be pretty excited about it. So I think everybody's going to, I know that my wife, who teaches first grade in Windham, uses this on a regular basis, and she loves it. It saves her so much time. When she's writing comments for report cards, she has a bulleted list of all their little things, and she puts it in there, and it writes the nice flowery comments for her. So, yeah. Any other questions?
No more questions. I just want to say thank you to Joel and the Glenn and Gordon and Craig and the 21st Century Learning Community Corporation Board. What you guys have done over these, and I didn't realize it was 34 years, but over that time, and are continuing to do now is just so great for our students and for our teachers, and we greatly appreciate it. And I also want to thank Mr. Campos over there for what he's done to our tech ed program and for coming tonight, as well as I believe it was Martin, who's left us now, but his helper, who did an excellent job as well. So thank you very much. We continue to move forward.
Hey, I'm wondering if you guys want to return to the ski race to raise money for the 21st Century Learning Community. I found a thank you note when I was cleaning out a file a couple of weeks ago, and I sent it to Grace because she signed it. I said, why isn't this being brought back up? So now that I can suggest it to you, the bosses, why not? There's lots of new ski racers, so younger. Grace will still do it, though, not me. Yes.
So we good? Do we have to accept it, or we're all good? Okay. All right, perfect. You still up?
I am.
Technology.
I have a couple of things that I wanted to share with the board. We shared with this in the technology subcommittee, but just some updates on a couple of the purchases that we've had to make that I wanted everybody to be aware of. Well, before we get to that, first of all, our new school websites will be going live on July 1st. We'll be transitioning from the old websites to the new websites with new names and the configuration. They're all going to have links to popular sites like the Parent Portal, Parent Square, and Pickup Patrol, so it's really easy to find. Right there there'll be those, those little buttons that are under the pictures on the main page. That's where those are going to be. So it'll be really easy to find. Consistent format in every school, so that if we're at Werbis or if we're at Deep, it's going to be the same kind of format. Should be able to navigate fairly easily. So the board approved whenever we were going into default budget that I would go ahead and purchase an email filter for the district, and we did. Tracy and I went through 4 different companies that were recommended to us that we knew about, and looked at the different quotes there. They weren't the lowest price, but they were all competitively priced, right within about $1,000 of each other. So we picked the one that was more idiot-proof, because when Tracy retires at the end of the year, an idiot is going to be looking at it, and he's sitting here at this desk. So I wanted to make sure, well, Tracy thought that the dashboard for Barracuda was so much more user-friendly than anything else that we saw, and if she thinks it's user-friendly, then I'm good with it too. So we went with Barracuda. They're our leader in firewall protection in the whole industry, so I have no doubt that we're going to have a very fine product there with Barracuda. It is cloud-based. That was one of the other things. When I initially brought this to the budget, it was going to be a device that sat in our server room, but because we don't have a backup generator in the server room, we decided it would be safer for us to do a cloud-based system so that it's on 24/7 and we don't have to worry about it. The second thing was that currently we are using Securely as our content filtering system, and we've been doing that for 3 or 4 years since the middle of the pandemic. They had a glitch in their program that allowed students to be able to bypass the content filter, and their solution for it was to turn off access to the settings on the Chromebooks. We thought that was a temporary solution. They didn't get done with that. They're still not done with that. That's been about 4 months now that the kids have had to do that. We've had some difficulties in different curriculum with the kids not being able to change their keyboards and other things. So when I was in Florida, I started looking at some different vendors, and I noticed that there were other products that did more than what Securely was doing and were less money. So we began the search for that, and we went through 3 or 4 different, I think it was actually 5 different companies that we looked at this. We've chosen Aristotle K-12 as our new content filtering system for our Chromebooks. There are some added benefits to this besides just the content filtering, including that it's integrated with the Student Data Privacy Alliance, of which our district is a member. We have data privacy agreements with all of the vendors that we work with, and they take all of our data privacy agreements and monitor, are our staff going to sites that we have a DPA with, or are they going to sites that we don't have a DPA with? So in order to keep our students as safe as possible, we want to make sure that our people are always using services that have a data privacy agreement. In case there's a breach somewhere, we have something to fall back on, something legal. So that was one of the things that really stood out in my mind with them. They also monitor all the sites that we're going to, especially those ones that we're paying for, to make sure that we're getting the return on the investment that we're doing. So next year at this time, I'll be bringing back data of, you know, let's just use Edmentum because we pay a hefty sum for Edmentum. You know, I'll be able to show you this is the usage rate that we have on Edmentum, but I can do that with every piece of software that we pay for. And the last thing that we really, really liked was a geolocator for lost or stolen devices, which coordinates with Google Maps. So when a device comes up as lost or stolen, it will show you on a Google map where the last place that was recorded at, the last place it was used. So it could be that the lost Chromebook is in somebody's bedroom. I don't know, but it'll show us with that. We'll have a better chance of trying to find those lost or stolen devices. So those were the things that I wanted to update the board with. Does anyone have any questions about those 3 items? Okay, I'm the next one on the agenda again. I have one more thing. So the next thing is every year the board is required under RSA 18966 to approve the data governance plan for the district. This year I just added, I wanted to say one of the components is that you have some screening, some auditing done. We just had a threat protection screening done in the district. Tracy and I went over the results of that last week, and we're taking some steps to kind of mitigate some of the issues that they saw in there. It also calls for more professional development in data security and data privacy, and so some of the videos that I release throughout the year will deal with data security and data privacy. I changed some of the data governance plan to reflect those new devices that are coming online, those new services, but pretty much it's the same plan that you saw last year. So with that, I do need a vote of the board for approval on that.
Before we do that, is there any questions for Cliff regarding it? Okay. Take a motion then.
Move to
I will,
accept- Go ahead, Michael.
Yep. I'll make a motion to accept the data governance plan for 2024.
First by Michael,
Second.
second by Jason. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you,
very
Cliff.
much.
Appreciate it. And hey,
Cliff.
good job, by the way. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Are you up, Joe? Strategic planning? Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
So just give you a quick update regarding the strategic plan. A couple weeks ago, we had our visioning process, but before I kind of get into that, I just want to give you some final updates about the stakeholder input process. So as you know, we conducted surveys. So there were 555 total responses from members of the community. 28 of those were employees that have at least one student in the Derry schools. 80 of those were employees with no students in the schools. 358 were parents or guardians of students in the schools, and 86 of those surveys were community members who had no children in the schools. So 555 total responses. pretty good. And I think we got some anecdotal feedback from our facilitators 2 weeks ago that they saw a little higher than average participation in that. So they thought that was great. In addition to the surveys, we also conducted focus groups. So we had a total of 112 participants in those focus groups, and they range from staff members, parents, community members, legislators, nonprofit leaders, and students. We actually had 21 students participate in focus group conversations. Additionally, Scott did conduct some interviews, I think, with some of you folks from the board. He has a few more virtual interviews that he's doing with people due to scheduling issues. He's just making sure that really everybody who reached out and said, I want to give some input, he's made time for all of those people, even if it's had to be rearranged and virtual. And we also provided him a number of people from the community that we thought it was important that he talk with, that he reached out to, for instance, some members of the town council and the town administrator's office, things like that. So overwhelmingly got a lot of feedback from many different members, stakeholders in the community. So that fed us a lot of information, and we talked for 2 days a couple weeks ago to start building and developing a vision for our district. And it's kind of almost, if you think big to small, it's really, really big at this point. So what are we hoping for the future of the Derry Cooperative School District? So that vision is not yet drafted. Scott is going to be, I think, let me see, within the next, by June 21st, we will get a formal, complete stakeholder report that I'll share with the board. That'll include real in-depth analysis of all the different data that they pulled from those surveys, focus groups, interviews. So we'll get that. The deadline for that is June 21st. He'll also be, they will be sending, G&D will be sending a draft vision set of statements for us to start looking at. And that visioning team included school board members, central office administrators, building administrators, teachers, other staff members, and parents on that team. So that group of about 20 people will electronically review some of the statements and give feedback to eventually build a consensus for some of the vision statements. Then the real work, not real work, I guess it's all real work, but it's really important that the final step or the next step in that process is in August. We have a 2-day session to then draft the actual plan, which will include sometimes what's known as a SMART goals, so observable, measurable targets for our district. And that'll look at personnel, it'll look at budgeting, what are all the pieces that we need in order to make these things happen. And that'll go through some cycles. We'll have 2 days to kind of work through the nuts and bolts of it, but then there'll be some back and forth feedback, and eventually the goal is to get this strategic plan out to the public and the community this fall. That was a lot that I just threw at you. Do you guys have any questions about the strategic planning?
Just have a couple of comments. I mean, I'm part of the committee, so I was in for the strategic, plan, meetings, and I thought they went really well. I thought it was incredibly productive to have board members, parents, teachers, assistants, principals, assistant principals, admin, all in a room just talking about what we'd like to see for the district. And that's something that we don't really get to do very often. And, hopefully as part of the strategic plan, as it's implemented and over the years, that's something we do more often. The other thing that I think is kind of a problem that we need to deal with is the lack of engagement in the strategic plan from our employees. Looking at those numbers that you just threw out there, we had 108 employees respond to the survey. And if I recall from the numbers Scott gave us at the sessions, we had 9 staff members participate in the focus groups. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yep.
So we actually had more focus group sessions for teachers than we had teachers participate in focus groups, as I recall. So that's a problem. If we want this plan to be successful, we're going to need teachers to be on board with what we're doing here. So I don't know what the solution to that is moving forward, but I think that is something that we need to be aware of.
Yeah, and to that point, I think that's well said. There's probably a lot of different reasons that I can't begin to necessarily understand. But one of the things that we decided at that visioning process was to ensure that the staff members who are part of that would also be part or welcome to be part of the strategic plan writing process. So sometimes the strategic plan can be a bit it's a very high level plan, right? It's really the board's plan for where you'd like to see the district going, and it is from a really big high level view. So initially, G&D had said typically we don't have staff members participate in the actual writing of the plan. They participate in the stakeholder groups and in the visioning, but part of the reason, for what you're talking about, we invited all of those staff members who were there for the visioning team to also participate in the strategic planning. I know they're just a representative group, but I do think they have, great value to add to the process.
I thought that was a great decision. But yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking, moving forward long term, to implement this plan successfully, you need to have teachers on board with it. And, I know that teachers get a lot thrown at them. You get kind of, just plan fatigue. And, you may not be inclined to engage with this because you're like, oh, they've got another plan and, it's going to be around for a year and then it's going to go away. I'm not going to waste my time. So, I don't know what we can do to kind of, tell people that, this is something that I think that, we're serious about as a board, producing something that is going to have impact on this district for years to come. And, we want everyone's input. We want, everybody to be working toward a common goal.
Yeah, I have a question. Maybe I missed it, but is anyone from Pinkerton, have they given any feedback or are they participating in maybe a later portion of this?
So we did connect G&D with Dr. Powers and Derek Lee over at Pinkerton Academy. And Tim Powers is also, he has the flexibility to maybe loop in other people. He thought that he and Derek were the best two people to sort of talk big picture about the connections between the K-8 school district and Pinkerton. So we've connected those guys with Scott.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Joe. Guess you're still up with
Yep, sure. If you want, I can give you just some quick restructuring update pieces. There are not a lot of changes since the last time we met. We continue to work on the Appendix A of the co-curricular, the list of co-curricular activities and the allocations of money in those areas. We are in principle kind of in agreement with the DEA. We've just not formalized that in any sort of way because every time we think we've got everything figured out, somebody raises a really good question about, have we thought about this? Have we thought about that? But I'm happy to say that that's been really productive, those conversations. In terms of transition activities, I'm not going to steal all of Austin's thunder because he'll talk, I think, a little bit about some of the, about some of the activities that have happened since we last met. But as you all know, we held transition or welcome nights at each of the levels of our schools. So there were meetings at the elementary schools. There was a meeting at the intermediate, and just last week there was a welcome night for Gilbert H. Hood. We've heard really positive things about that. In addition, administrators and counselors from all of our receiving schools have been visiting the sending schools to talk with kids in those buildings. I know that even with limited mobility, Bill Fox was traveling around to some schools and talking with kids and telling them a little bit about what it would be like. So that's great. That was happening right in their classrooms with their teachers, so that was helpful. Additionally, we will be communicating with families throughout the summer about transition activities, including making sure that that students and families will learn about their next year teachers and teams through the summer. There have been questions about maybe perhaps wanting to come in and tour buildings and stuff over the summer, and we will definitely be making those opportunities available. We have to be strategic about those to ensure that they don't interrupt any of the, or we have to work around, the maintenance crew works really, really hard over the summer to ensure that our buildings are ready to go for the fall. So we don't want you walking across freshly waxed floors and things like that. Additionally, that Monday in August, I think it's escaping me, I want to say it's August 26th, but I could be wrong, is going to be we've typically done it, oh good, we've typically done a meet and greet for students at the elementary school level. We're going to be doing meet and greet, kind of an open house opportunity for families and students on that day in all of our schools, so that families and students can come in prior to the first day of school, which is on that Tuesday, the 27th. Additionally, we also, I think I've talked about this in the past, but just trying to make sure people know, we have also contracted with an organization some of you may be familiar with called Adventure Lore. They're out of Danville, New Hampshire, and they do a lot of counseling, team building, social emotional activities for students and adults. We've actually gone there as an administrative team many years ago, watched Justin Krieger fall in the water. And we've contracted with Adventure Lore. They're going to be coming to all 6 of our schools next September, starting right at the beginning of the year and doing activities with students to try to help students kind of break the ice a little bit, build some new relationships, talk a little bit about stress, talk a little bit about how we work through anxieties and how we work through change. So I've been in touch with Ryan Holder at Adventure Lore, and actually I'm kind of giving a handoff to Mitch Edwards, our new coordinator of student wellness. He's going to be taking the lead on this project over the summer to coordinate with the folks at Adventure Lore. They're really great at what they do, but we just want to make sure it's targeted to what we see our students needing. In terms of facilities, we have delivered boxes to all of the schools and packing supplies. There are more coming, I hear. So we will continue to, we wanted to be careful not to bury teachers and students in cardboard boxes during the school year, because we know there's a lot of teaching and learning going on, and there's a lot that happens these last few days. But we also know that people need to start thinking about packing up and getting ready. So those boxes are there. The last day for students in our district is Wednesday. And that next day, Thursday, June 13th, our staff members are all going to be meeting in their new teams to spend that day kind of working on transition plans for the upcoming year. Many of them know each other already. They had an opportunity during an early release day in May to work together, but this is going to be a bigger chunk of time, and it's going to include all of our assistant staff as well. So that's great. And then teachers actually have 2 days on Friday and then Monday that are duty-free packing days, because we know there's a lot of moving happening. And I believe the moving company will be in our buildings the week of June 24th. So we've met with that company. Jane is in constant communication with them. They even came in and spoke with a team of our staff, teachers and admin and maintenance staff, to ensure that we were all on the same page. So that's what I have for restructuring. Does anybody have questions about that or anything about that?
You're talking about the organization. What's the name of that organization? The organization that you're talking about?
Talking about student orientation?
Yes.
So there was a welcome night for students and families that happened. There will be, we don't call it an orientation, but it's, let me back up. We had a kindergarten orientation day a few weeks ago. I forget, it was a Friday, I believe, the 17th of May. So the kindergarten students had that orientation that already happened. In August 26th, there's no school for students, but all of our buildings will be open, and we'll have periods of time where students and families can come in, see classrooms, meet teachers. And then the first day of school is that next day.
Okay.
And there will be the opportunity for summer tours and summer visits too.
So half joke, half not. The joke is, I remember when I was a kid, I'd go to the elementary school, like, I don't know, the day before, the week before, and I'd see the class list, right? So I'm wondering, A, can we bring that back? That's the joke part of it. Second part is, I'm assuming students will be notified that if teachers haven't been assigned by the end of the year, that they will be notified over the course of summer or before who their teachers are.
Yes, so our plan is to send out letters in the summer to notify students of who their teachers will be for next year.
So I just want to say thank you. I mean, there was a lot of, I don't know what the word is, concern over how transition was going to look and how the end of the year was going to look, and then start of the new school year. You know, just speaking from my own personal experience with my daughter, she was very excited when West Running Brook. She had a great time. Today they had 4th and 5th grade a day at Barker where they had barbecue, they had gaming truck. You know, so you guys did a really good job. And sounds like when September comes with the Venture Lore, that sounds like a really good opportunity. So thank you for making this as easy as possible for everybody. And hopefully the thoughts that you shared over the last couple of weeks and moving forward, it will hopefully alleviate some of the stress that people may be feeling. But like I said, you guys did a really good job, and thank you.
Yeah, I would echo that as well. I also have a kid going into the 5th grade next year. We went to the West Running Brook welcome night. You know, it was, a ton of people. It was great to see how many people did make the effort to come out and see the school. So, like, I know my son, his friends, they're really excited about going to West Running Brook next year. And I know he mentioned Mr. Fox stopped by his classroom recently. So, yeah, I mean, I think we're doing a good job of getting kids ready for this next year.
All right, I think we got Jane. Do you mind walking us through the Derry Village market analysis? Unless you have facilities, I thought you rolled it into restructuring. Do you have anything on these facilities that you want to talk about? No? Or anybody?
I mean, I guess I could mention the facilities that would have been part of my business administrator update, but Jeremy's been coordinating a lot of the work that's being done for the summer. They're working on the science rooms right now over at Gilbert H. Hood. And I think we talked about maybe having, a couple different trips that maybe the board in different groups would like to go over and see what the rooms are looking like at this point prior to them being fully renovated. They'll be starting, like we said, they'll be starting on the roofs. The materials should start arriving the same week the moving company will be here, but there are a lot of projects that are going on that they're trying to coordinate. So it's going to be a very, very busy summer with facilities.
I'm going to ask this question. I already know the answer, but with the housekeeping staff that we retained, I assume we have a lengthy project list for this summer for them to work on, I assume?
From the 700? The 700,000 that was retained? Yeah, we do have a lengthy list of work. We have the sprinkler system.
No, the Derry Village custodian staff that we retained. I'm assuming you got a lengthy list of projects for them.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Yes, we do have a lengthy list of, we have a lot going on. Yep. Do you want me to go right into the evaluation? Okay. So we had contracted again with Dan Scanlon from Collier, and the board asked that we do another opinion of a market value similar to what we did for the SAU office and South Range. And so we've included his report that came back regarding the Derry Village property, and I think if you read the letter, he does talk about there's a little bit more of complexities on that property given the size of the property and also West Running Brook being right next to it in the warehouse. And when we look at, he does a comparison to other locations that may be similar. So he just notes the River Valley Community College, talking about what that sold for and who bought that property. So I think that if you read through here, he just tries to reference some other properties that are similar, although nothing's really going to compare to the scope of the Derry Village property. And he gives his methodology of whether it was commercial real estate and how they would rate a value of a property like that. And he also talked about whether there was a scenario whether a developer would purchase that property. And given that it's 20 acres, and if you were to turn that into a residential development, and you can see that if you were to do any of those scenarios, his opinion that the value of the property is somewhere in the range of $2.5 and $3 million. Now, he does, as a reminder, in the beginning of the opinion letter, that he is a broker, not an appraiser, so it's not a market value, it's just a range of a value. So if you were to have a strong consideration for selling that property, then you would want to do a regular market value and appraisal at that time. And I try to remind us to go back to when we had Floyd School, what we had it appraised for at a certain point, and I know Brenda was involved in that as well. When we had it appraised, it was over $1 million, but by time we actually sold it, we were under 300,000. So this is just again, his opinion on the value of the property, not a market analysis of what you could sell it for tomorrow, but just giving you some very generalized comps.
Any questions for Jane?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. So now Derek expressed his opinion as far as what to do with that property. I would echo a lot of those, but I think there's still some questions. I think there's still some more due diligence that I think we could probably do to find out if it actually does make sense. But again, that's just my opinion. I don't know what the rest of the board would feel, but some questions that I would just follow up with is, I mean, just what a cost associated would be for an appraisal if we were to do that. And I don't expect you to have these answers tonight, Jane, but that also just if you could remind us of the costs of demolishing and or mothballing the building, what that would be on an annual basis to keep it up and running, and then what potential do we see for an organization to rent it, and what kind of revenue could we potentially generate from that if we were to hold on to that property? I think those are some questions I have. I would assume, the facilities committee has started exploring some of these things, but yeah, just my 2 cents, I guess.
Yeah, so it's actually a good point because I don't know how long ago it was, we had talked to Bev Donovan about that last thing you'd mentioned regarding renting it out. But I think at this point, this is a good start. I think we need to kind of, as a board, decide what the true direction is, because you need to this has to get done right. And as Derek mentioned, I don't know if I necessarily agree with the getting a new school anytime soon, but we have to obviously take that in consideration. And what and any other property we have, it will be a huge inconvenience and distraction to try to build a new school on a property that's already has a school on it. So there's a lot of factors and considerations to obviously take into account in the short-term gain compared to the long-term planning of this has to be done right and really carefully considered. But my suggestion would be, as like you said, as far as facilities, maybe with input tonight as we go into those facility meetings, what the direction the board would like to see, or some multiple directions or options that you'd like us, the facilities committee, to go down and understand and come back with more details on. I think that would be helpful for the facilities committee, so we're not figuring it out on our own. I think if we could take maybe 5 minutes to kind of think about what is the true thoughts of people sitting here on how to proceed, and then we can, get that ball moving.
Yeah, I'd agree with Jonathan. I'd like to understand what the true number, or as close to true, looks like. I mean, this report starts off by talking about all 40 acres. Obviously, West Running Brook and the other outbuildings where facilities and that building is not on the table. So it's kind of, is one land, you know, one part, section of the land, is it gonna have a higher price? Is it gonna have a lower price per square foot? I think, obviously, taking into consideration the cost of the appraisal, but we need to understand what the true dollar, or the truest possibility of what that dollar might look like for the specific parcel that DVS sits on, not inclusive of West Running Brook and the maintenance buildings.
Jane, what's this, is this zoned, what's the zoning on this, do you know? Can it be commercial, or does it have to be, I don't even know. Okay, we should probably look at that too, and that would narrow our options down, maybe.
Yeah, I think he mentioned it being subdivided in that letter, but it obviously didn't go into any detail, but yeah.
I think we need to have all of it, right? Jonathan talked about carrying costs, mothball, demolition. I mean, we've got to have all fairly firm figures on kind of what everything entails in order to have any understanding of the best path forward.
All right, I guess agreed on that. I think we have two of those numbers. They probably just be firmed up since the last time you did them. So that makes sense. And you know, maybe if you don't mind, Jane, doing a little digging on an appraiser, see what that cost would look like if we want to go down that. Well, it sounds like mostly we want to go down that road. Maybe we can figure that out, and then our next facilities meeting we can kind of run through options and bring back to the board. Does that sound like a plan for everybody? Okay.
And at some point before we get to the winter, I did leave some money in the budget just to run utilities at a very low grade. But at some point, the board's just going to have a discussion on whether you are going to rent it for any activities of the winter, or will Jeremy have the lines drained and the building completely shut down through we get to the winter. So you have time to talk about that before that point, but that's something we'll have to make a decision on.
Jane, has there been any interest in rental of the building or the property? I mean, would we have to kind of put that out there that we're open to that? Has anybody reached out? Has anybody?
No, I mean, we use it every winter for Derry Rec basketball. I think they're pretty much my only rental over there, but nobody else has reached out.
Jane, do you mind emailing Bev Donovan? Because we did have a conversation a long time ago, and she brought up possibilities of rentals. So just pop her an email and see what she has. If she might have nothing, but it'd be worth to kind of get that bug out there.
I think when we talked about this before, I asked for a market analysis that would give us a true value of the property, as well as the SAU, not just a letter that it could be valued at this, or this is what I believe. And I know it costs money to do that appraisal, but I don't know how we move forward without that information.
Agreed.
I mean, if you don't want to waste any more time, we can make a motion to have Jane move forward with the process to do an appraisal, and then we come back to us, so we're not wasting time till the 25th. I mean, that's up to you guys. It sounds like that's the majority of what our board looks like we want.
Well, wouldn't we
good
need
point.
a number?
Yeah, good point. Yeah, good point. Yeah, good point. So Jane, I guess why don't we get the appraisal process going and see what that costs, and then we'll move forward, depending on what that looks like, which is assuming that, I mean, appraisal's not usually that onerous in cost, so I'm not assuming we're talking tens of thousands of dollars. Yeah.
When did you want that done by? The appraisal? Or finding an appraiser? Did you want me to
I mean,
find one by the-
let's make it a priority. I won't give it, you judge the timeline for that, but as soon as you can, I think is a good thing.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I think the other piece of this is you can get whatever we get, a number, and then 6 months later, that number changes, which is what happened with Floyd. The bottom fell out of the real estate market, and we were left with something that we didn't expect. So I think we have to be cautious on that as well.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think the other thing too is, and I was thinking about this a little bit in conversation I was having with other people, is, you know, we should be able to drive the process of who we look at to buy this property. If we want it commercial and commercial benefits us and the town at the same time, that's a win-win for everybody. I wouldn't just assume that we're going to put single-family homes on there. I would try to look at the most viable option, and I'll just throw it out there. My preference would be commercial, but that's just me. But I think we need to figure out that argument, that as well, so, as we move forward. All right, Jane, you're up with your update.
Okay, I'm just going to be very brief. We're hoping to have, I was going to have the financials tonight, but we just did a manifest for tonight. This is a very, this is our fiscal year end for the school district. June 30th is the end. So we're very busy in finance trying to close out our books, and I will do my very best to get a financial update for the 25th. And also, we are going to be presenting the 22-23 audit at the next board meeting, and we will be starting our 23-24 audit right after that. So, so hopefully we will be, I'd like to have the audit for 23-24 obviously a lot sooner than we did for 22-23. You know, we had a staffing change, and every year they add new components to our audits, so we never really know what we're going to get. And there have been a lot of changes in GASB regulations, and now school districts have to be in compliance with a lot of those. So we do actually have an opening for an accountant in our department, so I'd like to put that out there if anybody's interested, and that's an immediate opening. And also, when you talked about the cost of mothballing, we'll make sure that we put that together. I know we would just like to know what we were going to do with that property, just as I go into budgeting again for it next year as well. And just want to talk a little bit about food service. I want to thank Christina Lebelzik and her staff who attended the school open house sessions that they had in the last couple weeks. She made sure that she had a table there. They did the QR codes for applications and our website, and hopefully we reached some families who might not otherwise fill out those applications, so I want to thank her for doing that. The unpaid balance that at this point is still at $18,000, although she's had a lot of our high unpaid balances paid recently, which has been really outstanding. So we're really happy about that. And last year, I think our outstanding balance for our outgoing 8th grade students was in the $8,000 mark, and we're down to $3,000 for our 8th graders. So thank you to she and Rachel, who are doing an outstanding job on getting that. And again, the maintenance department has a full list of projects going on for the summer, and so everybody there is busy. We have hired some summer help who are going to be helping with moving, property maintenance, doing the lawns and things like that. So we are still looking for a few more people to fill those positions for the summer. And lastly, I just want to, I talked about Touch a Truck at the last meeting. We had that on June 1st. I think it was a huge success. I think our participation might have been a little bit lower this year because there were a lot of activities going on that same Saturday that people had a choice to go to. But again, it was an outstanding event. The weather was beautiful, and we had a lot of staff from our district who volunteered their day. On Saturday, we did hot dogs and hamburgers, and I don't know whether Christina has calculated how much we made of a profit, but I think a significant amount. I think at least in the $1,500 for a profit, and those funds are going to, we set aside money that we get as donations for families in need. So we wouldn't be using that just to pay off unpaid student balances. It would be for if a family in need had a parent pass away, or house, if their house caught fire. Those are things that we have seen in the past, or just a significant change in their family. Those donations help for situations like that for our families. So I'm really pleased with the amount that we were able to generate for that, for food service.
Thanks for the updates, Jane. I do have a question on the projects. Forgive me if I missed it, but will that be listed on the website somewhere so folks can kind of see what's happening? I know it'll be helpful and beneficial for not only the board, but those in the community to see what you guys and Jeremy and team are doing. I know a lot of times it comes into question with regards to what you guys aren't doing, but I think if people can kind of reference some of the projects and see all of the hard work that you guys and the entire team do, not just over the summer, but all year round, but just as a point of reference, right? If people have questions as to where the monies are going or what projects are being done or what's being addressed and kind of some of the improvements that are being made, although, you know, we don't have all kinds of money to do certain things, but there's still good things happening in the buildings. I think that would be very helpful.
Sure, yeah, that'd be great. And I think everybody knows I love pictures of all of our projects. So even our project manager from Honeywell, he keeps sending me pictures because he knows that I like to see the progress. The rooms over at Hood, I was over there taking progress pics. It's very interesting, especially the project at Hood, because it's built in one of the older wings that saying it's modular is a little bit, they were built so that the walls could come down and you could expand into the next room. But it's really interesting the way that it's built, and that's why when I went over the other day, I think it would be great for the board to come over and see what type of work is having to be done over there and the complexity of the rooms that are being renovated. But yeah, I think we'd love to do a presentation. I can put it in a PowerPoint format slide and have that for the 25th and show so far what the projects are costing and have before and afters of where we are to date. But we invite you to come over and look at those rooms when you have a chance.
Jason, to your point, I was just talking to Jonathan today about during the summer what we were going to do with social media, and it looks like this would be some really nice social media things to put out throughout the summer since we don't have any students in the buildings.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it would be a great idea if you could have just kind of a running blog of, you know, the things that are being done. Yeah, because I mean, to Jason's point, you know, we do hear a lot about the things that aren't getting done, and maybe we're not communicating very well the things that are getting done.
Jane, I just want to follow up on Touch a Truck. It was a great event. I think you undersold it a little bit. It was a blast. The staff that showed up, I know Kim, you, Janine, Christina, Christine from the SAU, Tracy, Christina's sons came. I mean, it was great. I probably missed some people. I apologize. So also want to shout out, you know, Derry Fire Department and the Derry Police Departments. They both came and they solicited our tent. And they aren't hot dogs. They are dairy dogs. And everybody loved them. But yeah, it was a great event. It's great to see, you know. I will say this, a testament to Jeannie Metro. She was the most popular person at our tent, and there were so many kids. So I know we've all said it before, but we're gonna certainly miss her, and you know the families in town will as well. But yeah, great event. Oh, another person I wanted to call out was Doug Flood. He was over there doing pizza stock. So I know we had a lot of great people over there. Had a lot of fun. So thanks for having me.
And Steve Schaefer on grill.
Yes. Oh, yeah. How could I forget him?
And we had 3 custodians who worked the event as well, did an outstanding job. I'd also like to say, if nobody has seen the pictures on Facebook, Jonathan wore a hot dog hat and Kim wore a hamburger hat the entire event.
I'm sure many people will say that it's appropriate that I was wearing a hot dog because
Thanks, Jane. So where are we at? Austin, you're up. Your update.
Okay, I guess, yeah, I did hear a lot about the Derry dogs and the fun you folks were having. But last Thursday was next charter school's 11th graduation. It's mind-boggling that it's been, oh, wait a minute, let me fix my hair. There we go. Thank you. Next charter school over in the Opera House. They always do a fantastic job with that, and very well done. Again, I just can't believe it's been 11 years, and they are functioning so extremely well and continue to do so. Yep, Anthony, we got a little rained on. I left my raincoat in the car because I didn't need it because it was so beautiful. It was actually hot walking up there. And then, yeah, I got a little bit wet, but it wasn't that bad.
Me and my friends had a blanket, so.
That was smart. Yes, that was very smart. But once again, it's just mind-boggling to see 750 kids getting their diplomas, and it was. It's always a great thing to see the culmination of our kids as well as kids from the other towns making it through their K-12 years. And let me get to my report. Now, students in grade 5 PACE at Grinnell Elementary School hosted an escape room for all students in grades 4 and 5. The escape room consisted of 4 separate sets of math problems that PACE students created all on their own. The 4th and 5th graders had to solve the problems and then use a decoder to come up with the password for the next clue. All the students were coached by the PACE students with patience, kindness, and enthusiasm. It was a huge hit for the 4th and 5th graders. Thank you to the students who brought this idea to life, and to the PACE teacher, Mrs. Maloro, for her guidance in creating this wonderful event. Everyone was completely engaged, worked tirelessly to solve the problems, and had a great deal of fun while learning in a real-world problem-solving experience. On Wednesday, May 29th, from 6 to 8 p.m., West Running Brook Intermediate School hosted an information night for all current 4th and 5th grade students and their families. Here is what next year's West Running Brook Intermediate School principal Bill Fox had to say about this event. We had around 1,500 students and family members who were provided background information regarding school operations. Families were then able to meet staff and tour the building at their own pace. Here are some noteworthy quotes from a number of different students attending the event. "This is not scary. I'm excited because I know so many teachers and kids. The art room is awesome. I'm excited for recess and our new playground. I love that we have so many choices for unified arts. I am so happy because friends I know from all over town were with me at the same school. We are looking forward to open house Monday, August 26th, when there will be specific information about teachers and schedules," said Mr. Fox, who went on to thank the staff who attended the event and the West Running Brook Intermediate School PTSA. Continuing our ongoing emphasis on transition activities, last Monday, June 3rd, Gilbert H. Hood Middle School hosted their information night for all incoming grade 7 and grade 8 students and all of their family members. Principal Lisa Long said, "We had a successful Gilbert H. Hood Middle School welcome and information night, and the attendance was fantastic. There was a packed house with hundreds of students and their families attending. I want to thank the current and future Gilbert H. Hood Middle School staff who were also in attendance. National Junior Honor Society members from both West Running Brook and Gilbert H. Hood helped facilitate the night's activities, and they were outstanding ambassadors. The school was filled with excitement and positivity throughout the evening. As the event was ending, one student came to the main office with her father close behind. As she entered the office, she said, 'Guess what? We have husky dogs at home, so my dad and I love that the mascot is a husky.' Lisa Long replied, Then you were destined to come to school here because you know about Huskies. With a huge smile on her face, she said, "Yep." Another piece of great news from Gilbert H. Hood Middle School is that Family and Consumer Science facts teacher Emily Barrett has been named the New Hampshire Association of Family Consumer Sciences Teacher of the Year. Please join me in thanking Ms. Barrett for her dedication to the Gilbert H. Hood students and congratulating her on this wonderful honor. Finally tonight, Derry Early Education Program, DEEP, held an end-of-year family luau dance Friday, May 31st that was sponsored by their DEEP PTA committee. Over 30 National Junior Honor Society students, again from both the West Running Brook and Gilbert H. Hood Middle Schools, volunteered to help with setup, face painting, organizing games, serving pizza, and everyone danced the night away. DEEP coordinator Janine Metro had this to say about the event. There was a huge turnout of 3- and 4-year-old students along with their family members. All of the DEEP staff, PTA committee members, and the middle school students. Janine thanked the DEEP PTA for their organization and support, the National Junior Honor Society students and their advisor, Mr. Russ Manchester, her staff, and all of the DEEP students and families in attendance. It was a wonderful end of the school year event for all of the students and families and middle school students and the staff members, and everybody had a great time. Thank you.
Thank you, Austin. Any questions from the board? No? No.
Austin, just want to echo the next charter school graduation and just the asset that they are. It also kind of went hand in hand that Patty Maloro led the escape room as well. She spoke at next charter school. She did an amazing job. So yeah, just thank you to that team over there. It was a great ceremony. Teachers had great stories about challenges, growth, achievement, and even strawberry frosted donuts. And you know, it's just great to see all the kids get their moment to stand up on stage and get that round of applause that they deserve because they've worked so hard. Same with all the graduates at Pinkerton as well. We're lucky to have a couple different options for schools here. So appreciate the work that they do over at Next. And yeah, hope to hear more great things about what they've been doing.
Yeah, and as great as it is, I was joking with somebody, can you imagine if Pinkerton Academy took each student and did what Next did for 750 students? So it is nice that they have that availability and the ability to really spend some time, and they talk deeply about what each one of those graduates has done and what they've accomplished.
All right, next we have FYIs. You guys all have your June enrollment numbers in your packet. I don't know if you have any questions for the administration. No? All right. So let's go to committees. We'll start with the manifest.
I move to approve the manifest in a grand total amount of $3,595,988.29. That consists of general payroll of $2,804,504.53 and general expenses of $791,483.76.
Second.
First by Jonathan, second by Jason. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, passes 7-0. Any other committees want to give an update at this point?
Curriculum Committee did meet last week, first meeting of the new session, had some good dialogue with board members and the SAU team. Looking forward to kind of building in some curriculum updates as we go through and hearing more about everything that's happening and all of the great stuff with teacher development and student achievement and all of the work that's going on in there. So more to come with that, not to take away anything that'll be coming forward, but excited to hear and see how things move along. So thank you.
It's a long reach for me. At the next curriculum meeting, could we talk about kindergarten curriculum and how it relates to the play-based law? Because I'm hearing a lot about that, and I'd like to be sure I can address the questions that I get asked. Thank you.
So it wasn't a committee meeting, but last Thursday we had the New Hampshire School Funding Fairness Project come to Derry, Marion Garish. I think Jonathan, myself, and Jason were there. Very informative. You think you know what you know, but then they give you a whole different set of things that you learn. So it was very informative. Once we'll get slideshows, and once we get the slideshows, I'll distribute them amongst the board. But it was very interesting, very informative. We had some state reps show up: Jody Nelson, Charlie Foote, John Petusik was there, and Dave Mills. And then, we even had people from other towns show up to come hear it. Very knowledgeable group of people. They had a lot of good things, a lot of good information, just showing the disparities that we face on a daily, yearly basis. It's very, very informative. But yeah, like I said, I'll get you guys a slideshow, and other handouts they had was pretty good. And they answered a ton of questions. The state reps were very receptive. A lot of good feedback on how to proceed moving forward. Whether it's consensus building amongst Republicans, Democrats to push forward a funding plan that will work, or the Conval lawsuit as well, to how do we fund that. So obviously it's a long road ahead for that, but at least, these are the kind of things that when people are educated on why we're in the situation we're in, it's good to people hear this. There was probably 40 to 50 people there. And I think, when tax bills come out, people are complaining and all that, but, when you understand why the tax bill is the way it is and the struggles that everyone has trying to make the budgets work, it makes sense where we're at. And yeah, if you have any questions on that, we can get you information, but I will get you that information that they promised us, so hopefully that will be good.
David, can I add to that? Yeah, so it was beyond informative. Just one of the quotes that stuck with me is, the current system pits parents, students, and families versus elderly folks who can't afford property taxes, and that's just really sat with me. The system is broken, and I said this on Thursday. Just like we want to become, or I don't know if we want to become elected to make decisions, but we run and we understand the expectations are that we are going to be forced to make decisions and provide solutions and things like that. But yeah, just a couple things that really stood out. Versus state averages. That rebut some of the things we hear. We heard it even on Thursday night that there's high administration costs. The New Hampshire average is 11%. We spend 6% on administration. We hear boots on the ground quite a bit. We spend 48% of our budget on regular education. The state average is 39%. So I think those are important things. I think we need to continue to reiterate and repeat these things over and over and over again, because the disparities are alarming. You look at equalized value per pupil. Portsmouth equalized value per pupil is $4.4 million. In Derry, it's $1.1 million. So they have 4 times really the amount of base, and they get to reap the rewards of the tax system that we have in place today. We are lauded for our special education services, and we're still providing those at a 20% lower clip than the state average. My assumption is that this is due to our NECC programs, what we do in IDEA and IEL programs as well. And there are solutions out there that don't necessarily require a broad-based sales tax as well. So this has been an issue for 30 years. It's something that we need to see a solution from, and not only do we need to see a solution, but we need to see a beneficial solution for the taxpayers of Derry to offset really what's been happening the last 30 years. So I will continue to probably beat this dead horse because it is important. And obviously, our state delegation is up for election coming up in November. So think about that when we think about the people that are responsible for bringing these solutions back to Derry.
All right. Other business, couple things.
Sorry, I had one other committee thing.
Sure.
So I know we talked about this last time, coming off of the effective meetings. Just wanted to ask if there's been a policy meeting that has been set up to discuss putting in a rules of order, and if not, could we get that on the book so that we can discuss that at the committee level and then potentially at the board level?
Yeah, we have that policy, but we also have another policy that Jane and Joe have been working on, and we're getting close to, we have to meet one more time to hammer that out, and then we are looking to send some dates out.
All right, so tomorrow night we got the 8th grade graduation, right, at the Pinkerton Academy, 3:30? Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, so obviously the board's invited to go. It was a good time last year. So we're all invited. So if you can make it, that'd be great. If you can come to one or the other, that's great too. I highly recommend coming out. We also, when we had our retirement ceremony last meeting, we got a thank you letter from Suzanne Carr. That's right. She was very appreciative of the event, and she's been a part of the West Brook team for 23 years. So it's stories. There's a lot of dedication, a lot of great teachers in our district that dedicate a good portion of their life to educating our children. And it's great to celebrate them, and then you get these letters. It makes it all worthwhile. I'm trying to think. I think the only other thing I mentioned earlier, from a personal note, I just want to say my daughter's leaving Barker on Wednesday. We've had just want to thank everybody at Barker, between the administration, teachers, PTA members, community members who volunteer there. My son went there as well. We had a great experience, and with my daughter's medical issues, they've done a great job of being there for her, and I was very grateful.
Three things I wanted to mention before we wrapped up. I mean, first of all, echoing, a couple of things. Jonathan mentioned the next graduation. Mrs. Maloro over at Grinnell gave the keynote speech. She did a fantastic job. She is my son's absolute favorite teacher. She's probably watching right now. So, Mrs. Maloro, you did a fantastic job. And that also brings me around to David's point. This is also, my son's last day at Grinnell is on Wednesday, and I can't say enough about the fantastic experience that we've had over the last 5 years at Grinnell. We had Mrs. Hill for a few years as our principal, and then Mrs. Lance moved up. We have had nothing but fantastic teachers at Grinnell. Our PTA does wonderful things. My son has made great friends there. So, to anyone who's coming over to Grinnell next year, whether in kindergarten or you're coming from Derry Village, you have nothing to worry about. It is a fantastic school. One other thing I wanted to mention was last Friday, Mrs. LaCroix, a third grade teacher over at DVS, she invited us to come by and see her students' Japan projects. My understanding is she's kept in touch with a former exchange student from Japan who now lives in Vancouver, and every year she regularly Zooms and the kids learn about Japanese language and culture. Seems like a great opportunity for her kids. One thing that she said to me that stuck out is that she watches our meetings, and she saw Brenda and I talking about having attended Grinnell's Colonial Fair, and she decided, I'm going to reach out and invite the school board to come and see what my kids are doing. So I would just take that opportunity to say that, if you're a teacher in the district, you're watching, if there's, a project, if there's something great that your kids are working on, reach out to the superintendent, invite us. We can't go to everything, but we try to go to as many things as we possibly can. And, we want to see the great things that are going on in your classrooms. And a third thing, the legislative season is wrapping up in Concord. There's a couple of things that are still out there. HB 1665 is the school voucher program. That's gone through conference committee, and they've agreed on a version that increases the income threshold to 425% of the federal poverty guideline. That would increase the cost of the program from $25 million this year to over $54 million. And again, the vast majority of the recipients of this program are not in their public school to begin with. This program largely subsidizes people who are already paying toward private and religious schools and homeschooling, and that's money that is coming out of public schools. There was also another bill, HB 1298, that would have allowed uncertified and unlicensed part-time teachers. That bill died. And another thing that didn't come out of the legislature, but is related, the state's banned concepts law was struck down by a federal district court. This law basically restricted what teachers can say about racism, sexism, other topics like that. If you recall, it was sort of passed by the legislature in 2021. It was a bill that really couldn't pass on its own, so it got tacked onto a budget bill. The governor signed it into law, and it's been law since 2021. But I think it's a victory for our teachers and students to see that law go away.
Sorry, Michael said something that's reminded me. So on the heels of that New Hampshire school fair funding presentation, I went and looked at Chester's school funding resolution, and I've just replaced Chester with Derry because after looking at it, I think they've covered it all. I think I can send out what I have, but I think it's something that hopefully we can actually put maybe we invite the delegation here and we present this, or but I think it's something that I would be in favor of moving forward with as a resolution, because one of the things we're asked to do is to advocate on the behalf of the district as well. So I think that'd be important. So I'll send that out. In addition to, I can send out those slides as well.
Real quick, just wanted to thank everybody at WRB as well. My daughter had 2 incredible years there. Too many people to thank individually, so everybody who is involved with WRB, thank you so much. And we are looking forward to being at Hood next year.
So if we're going to do shout outs to schools, I'm going to try to hold it together. I'm going to shout out to the Derry Village staff. They've done an amazing job over the past year, but especially the past couple of months. I've watched children coming out of school in tears. I've watched teachers and assistants, administration, cafeteria staff, and custodians come for children and tell them they're going to do a great job wherever they're going. I don't agree with this decision. I'm never going to agree with it. I'm wearing my green ribbon for the rest of my life. But I want to shout out to the staff because they have done, I know they're hurting, I know they're sad, I know they're struggling, but they have done an unbelievable job of supporting children and families and each other. So thank you guys so very much.
Thank you, Brenda. I would echo the same sentiment as well. We have a lot of, the whole district, we have a lot of great people in this district, and, I know I appreciate it. I know everyone else does appreciate everything that everyone does, so thank you. So with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn. First by Jonathan, second by Jason. All in favor? Aye. All right, thank you. Have a good night.